In this video help, we're going to return to the pop-up menu. We're going to go down to the Consign Labels. Now there's actually two different label sets that are in this application. There is the 2 3/4, and there's another one just below that on the drop-down menu for the 3-inch. Now you can have additional ones on a custom app where you request a different size, and I can add those to the application. But most people are using 2 3/4 or 3-inch labels because it provides the space for the items that you want to put onto the screen. Now, when you want to print labels, you're going to be going into the individual record for consignments, and I'm going to show you that, the consignment portal. And what you're going to do is you're going to be doing a find. This is the individual record that you have that was on the consignment main page on the consignment tab, and this is the individual one without its portal. And this means that in this area you can do finds. Now if you want to do labels for a particular set of data, and usually what happens if you're doing a bunch of entries for new consigned items and you want to print labels after you get the consignment record in, you would come over to the screen here and you would see the consignment date would be the ones you just added. Now you have the choice of using the consigner ID for only those labeled items for one consigner, or you can use the day and do all of them that you haven't done for that particular date for the consignment, or you can pick specific ones in a range if you wanted to. In this particular case, let's say that we're going to do them for the day. So what we would do is we'd be starting a find. We would go ahead and enter the consigned date or a date range if you needed to, if you haven't done them for a few days, and then go ahead and get ready to print them. Now what will happen is the labels will print depending upon the kind of format you need for the labels. There may be 18 or 24 or so many labels that will print on each page. So what will happen is if you pick more than the amount of the first page, it will just go on and add those to a second and additional pages if required. Now if you do less than a full page of consigned items, you will be wasting some labels. That's not something that I have control over. It's something that the Avery label and the whole approach for doing labels requires, and that's regardless of whatever application you're using. It doesn't allow you to pick and choose. Say for example, if these are the rows in the labeling thing, it doesn't allow you to say, okay, I don't want to use 1, 2, 3, or 4, but I want all the rest of them to be printed. Unfortunately, that's not the case. So when you set up to do a sheet of labels, you probably want to select a number of labels by the quantity count that will print the amount of pages that you want to print. I know that's a little complex, but if you have questions, I'll be happy to answer and show you how to do that. But once you have the date or date range, depending on the number of labels you want to print, you would go ahead and go to the find menu. You would do the find that would bring up those labels into the current selection of records. And you can go over and then view, using the pop-up menu, you can go over and view the label itself, and you would see, in this case there's only 2 records in there, so there's only 2 showing, but then it would show you how many fill the entire page, and that way you get an idea of how much you need in order to fill one page or more, because you can actually see them on the screen. In this case, let's go ahead and say you can do the count, and you may have to scroll down to see the count of them, and then when you actually see the preview of the page, you would see how many are actually going to print and what they would look like. What is included on the label? Well, this is a composite of certain information. This is the consigner ID first, followed by asterisks to separate the data. The next thing is the description of the item that the label is on as far as the labeled item. The next thing is the consign date. The next thing after the consign date is the item ID, and the last one is the category that it fits within. Part of the reason for having the tags, oh, and by the way, I almost missed it, there's the price that the item is offered for. So if it's on the floor and somebody wants to see what the item costs, they can just pick the label up just like they do in a retail store and identify what the cost of it's supposed to be. Now this may vary if it is for something that you have picked where it has a time relative change on it. What I would suggest you do is on the labels, put a strike mark through it and put 30% discount, 20% discount, or whatever it is on the current label in pencil. That way, if you change it and you have to go back and change it again, as soon as it comes up to the desk to be checked out for sale and you see a 30% markdown or 20 or whatever it is, you're going to instantly know that this item needs to be marked down. Well, there is a facility in the invoice to pop up to make sure that that is accurate as far as the discount is concerned on a row by row basis on the invoice. So don't worry about it if it's changed or it has not been marked or whatever. You're going to see that when you pop the item up in the invoice row. Now this is something that couldn't be done on Square or anything like that. It has to be done in the application in order to manage your inventory at the current discount and at the current commission rates and the current price. So you have to manage it within the application. That's not something that a merchant account is going to allow you to change. So if you have merchant accounts with a app like the Consigner, or you have a Consigner store, actually putting in your accounts and items into the Square is not going to be helpful to you. It's better if you just take the summary total of what the invoice is and just go ahead and strike the card and put the summary amount for that particular transaction. Square and some of those kind of things are based on the itemized items in a given inventory system. And with consignment, every item that comes in may be different from the one before. They're unique. So something like Square and an inventory in Square really doesn't make a lot of sense. So if you have any questions about how to use this, or you're kind of confused, give me a call or on Skype, and I'll walk you through the process. Thank you.